Hi there. Welcome to another episode of the Vulnerable Scientist podcast. This is your host, Sarah Nyakeri. And on this episode, I thought instead of editing things out, I just put the rest of the conversation here where we're talking about racism, the problems of funding, comparing funding in African countries and Western countries, and how those countries have appreciated science and their role in development in different ways, and how it's impacting their economy. We also talked about how we don't have everything figured out, and the need to be happy and choosing positivity at a certain particular time in your life without worrying and all that. I hope you enjoy it. Why didn't you want to go to US?
Just the political energy. That is why I did it. Yeah, I am very sensitive to social issues, so I honestly used to feel that I don't want that. Just the idea that the way I look, someone can use that to deny me of an opportunity or to mistreat me before I even speak, right? Before I even do anything. That has always blown my mind, Sarah, that someone can do that based on just how you look and just based on melanin. So when I think as a biochemist, it even gets more ridiculous. When you've gone through the process, the biochemical process of melanin production, That's what, you're like, just this thing, just this.
Just one pathway.
Has contributed to all this. Then it really makes it absurd. So that was one of the things I used to be sensitive about.
But now?
And I didn't know how. So right now, honestly, I have more exposure to things. And that means that I know that this happens, right? It's happening here. It's happening elsewhere in the world. And also we have our own form of that back home. And so in truth, it might not be possible to completely escape it, but you could live in a place where it doesn't happen often. That's one way. Avoid. So I have the place where I live. I am happy to say that I have not had those experiences. It's not to say that they do not happen, but for me, I have not had any ratio like direct, aggressive, or just very blatant racism happen directly to me. Are there times when I've felt that me being black has contributed to someone's decision or someone's way of understanding me or taking up what I am putting out? Yes. And I call that under the carpet racism. That's just what I call it. A beautiful carpet on top, but underneath it's happening. And what I try to do, it's...
How do you deal with that? I think that's where you're headed.
That is a lot of work in progress, Sarah. Because mainly, and I was having this conversation recently with a friend, we have different approaches to how you respond to triggers. So in the past, when I have pictured myself in such scenarios, I've always thought how I'm going to tell this person, this is absurd, blah, blah, blah. But now I keep asking myself, what is helpful? And this is also circumstantial, right? It depends on how bad the situation will be and what will be happening in that scene. But what I am trying to learn or to train my heart and in my mind is just to, in that moment, focus on what will be the most, what you say that helps them to learn, or just to see the ignorance. Because it's ignorance, right? It stems from for me, racism stems from pure ignorance. And just what we were saying earlier about the melanin, I mean, it's a pigment. It's a pigment. That's what's ridiculous. And this being taken and the lack of or presence or X amount of it being in someone, someone taking that as to mean that they are better in any other way, how their brain functions or how, they are able to perceive things, that's just absurd. And to me, that's just ignorance. It's just that period. Like, I can't say it with any other word. It's ignorance passed down. And so with these people, I've had people here ask me some, what I would call, I'm looking for a good word, Sarah. I normally wouldn't use this word. Just some questions which you're like, hi, Bana, surely. About Africa. And I just say, Google. Just, it's in your hand.
Google is a friend.
Google it, right? Just search. And unfortunately, there are some sources that they will Google and they will match their ignorance. But there is a lot more information that it will paint a picture, a realistic picture, right? Or somewhere close to reality. So I just tell them to Google. When they ask me, oh, blah, 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 is Africa, do you do this in Africa? Do you have this? Yeah, just search. We live in a world where you don't even have to type. You can literally say, okay, Google, and it does something, and ask the question. So for me, it's usually just either to tell them to Google or search or find this information, or I provide that information. And I try to say it in a nice way. There are times that I have also avoided to say anything because I know that if I say something, it's not going to be nice. So I'm going to be very honest with you, Sarah.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. And that's why I said it depends on the circumstance. It depends on what is happening at that moment. How is my my emotions at that moment? What I try not to do is escalate it. Yeah, I avoid to escalate. But I think so far going from up to a place of just and educating people helps. And with some things, it's just keeping quiet and waiting. So like when you see someone doubting your analysis or doubting how your proposal or your what you're saying, because they think that you don't know because of your color, you might not have the best ideas. Sometimes it's just waiting. Because when you keep working and you do a good job, there is nothing to deny there. It will be right there. You can try to deny. You can try to, find ways of hiding it. But if someone is good at what they do, they are good. So focusing on me. Yes, it will come out. So when I focus on me getting better and getting good at things, it actually indirectly deals with this. Because I love my skin and I love being me, and I do love where I come from, and there's nothing to be ashamed about it. Like, it's actually insane to think of shame, right? Even to use that word in that sentence. But yeah, if I do it, then they can see it's me, and and they know where I'm from. And if I get good at it, if I keep working on it and I get good at it, then it will be there for everyone to see. You might still want to bury your head in the sand and deny it, but it is still going to be there. And the quality of it, you will not diminish the quality of my work by hiding your head in the sand.
I love that you mentioned that, because it's still part of what you're doing, research, right?
Yes, it's big.
It plays a part in it. And I love that you've mentioned that it's not like you've figured it out, like you figured it all out, you're still working on that.
Yeah, a lot actually, Sarah. Even with these things about the job search and everything, I'm sharing what I've learned so far. It's not to say that I've figured out the next step or where I am. I haven't. I'm learning template. As I go. Yes, and so my part is just to share my journey. If someone finds something useful in it, I'm happy. That helps me. I don't want us to fall in the same hole. I fall in it and then you come and fall in it because I didn't tell you that there was a hole there. That's what I would want to avoid. But it's not to say that I have figured out. There's so much there's so much to learn, Sarah. There's so much to learn. And it's even emotionally, personally, but all those things, they play a role. Faith, spiritually for me, all those things are, they play a role, and it's work in progress.
Okay, so Milcah, I think we are past the time that you are free for. I don't know.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can ask a question if you have. Don't worry.
I just want to know if that's if there's another high first.
They are there, but I think that really covers it. One of the things I feel like I didn't highlight much is also the support system that I have. I have an amazing support system for family, and from my family and from my friends, and that has been very important, because you see, with research, sometimes like with our courses, it's hard to explain these funding things. You try to explain why don't you have a job. It's not like, unless you're working for a big company that's there, they have a job, that position that's established, and so you go in, there's a salary, there's there are proper systems, the funding, there's a good supply chain that brings in the money. With research, you could be working today and then tomorrow you're not, and it's just because maybe something political or a pandemic happened and now you don't have funding. So the people around you, your family, your friends, it really helps when they may not fully understand it, but they support you. Like when I tell them, I had a PhD, but now the funding is cut. Or I tell them, I'm collecting data, but I'm not being paid. And it's, this project is going to improve agriculture in Kenya. They're like, okay, but do we have bills today?
Wow.
So I've had an amazing, my dad and my mom, my sister and my brother, they have been very, very supportive. Like when they didn't understand me, that 1 year and a half, I didn't have a job. All those months, in those in-betweens. So for me, my experience in research is that the job security, it's not strong. That's a discouraging thing that I've experienced. It's more like contracts, 3 months, 3 years, 1 year, depending on funding availability.
Yeah.
And so that job insecurity, not insecurity, but an instability, that really affects lives. And there are people dependent on me, and there are people who I depend on, and it affects their lives. So having a good having good support from them has helped me to keep going on that path. So that's one thing that I would like to put out there. And also my friends, yeah, they've really played a big role in encouraging me, or just watching me see where this thing is going to go. Yeah.
Your friends
that's important. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I don't know if this is personal. Do your friends understand science? Are they in the research whatever, or they are in other fields and you have to explain everything and they actually do understand what's going on?
To be fair, most of my friends have that background. So one of my longest friendships, circle of friends, we did biochemistry and biotechnology courses together. So they know. They have since then gone on to do different things. Some have started their own companies, and others were ended up in, finance world, completely different. But they have a sense of, they have a very different, my class, we are all over.
How many?
But they have, out of the whole class, I would say less than a third are in research.
And those less than a third, are they happy?
I don't know much. I only know of the small circle that I talk to like often. The others, I don't know whether they are happy, but I know that they are in research. We have some people who've made it big in research, but not many, not as we would have hoped when we were taking that biochemistry class. But that is in terms of research. Now, do they have successful lives? Yes. By other means, mostly yes. Business, or just other jobs, just other fields. They are doing well. I'm really happy and proud of them when I see their updates on Facebook. That's where I see it. I can see we went out to do something for ourselves. But in terms of research, we are not many of us ended up where we envisioned in terms of when we were thinking we would all end up in research. Not many of us took that path or remained in it because of jobs. That's the main thing, availability of opportunity. It's not that that's not what they wanted to do. It's just the availability, and then taking what came and being flexible with life.
So I'm going to say something, and I want I don't know if you want to comment about it or not, but this thing, there's a time I was trying to figure out if I still want to go to do my master's and do a PhD later, and what will happen later. So I tried to I love taking data online. I have it's a hobby. I love collecting data online. I have a question. Yes, I have a question. Then I look for answers using collecting data. It just makes me happy. It's like eating ugali and managu. That's how I feel about collecting data.
Okay. Hey, that's a major one, and I recognize because ugali and managu is another level.
Right. Well, chacho. So, I was when I was trying to find what people have done, how long it took for me. The question was how long it took for someone to have a stable career in science. Like taking the whole path to PhD. How long does it take them to settle to have a job? And the minimal years, or rather averagely years that it took for, especially the ones that went all through, did their undergrad, masters, then PhD, or did undergrad or then PhD, then did a postdoc, then looked for work and finally became scientists, of which they're still struggling in. Yes. So for me, I was just like, let me see how it gets for them to be a full scientist. How long does it take them to do that? And it was more than 10 years. We'll see someone started school when I was how old? Very young. And they're still in the same position I'm in. I'm like, do I really want to go through this path? Do you want to comment about that?
Yes, I'd love to, because that's a journey that I've been through, that I'm still going through. Just thinking about it, reflecting on life. I've had those similar reflections, and I've gone in and out of my dream of having a PhD, and I keep even with the masters, if I go back to masters, just the decision, do I want to advance? For me, it was based on, I looked at here's what I thought at that time. I thought I would do a master's, and then that would have allow me to get a job at a certain entry level that would pay me well. And well is relative, right? But there was a certain salary that I thought, if I'm able to go in with this salary, entry level, then I think I'm set. I didn't think much of a PhD at that time. I just wanted that to get a job. So I did the master's. What lessons did I take from that? It was that experience counts. Experience really does count. And so my strategy of just advancing without looking for opportunities, sometimes even just volunteer, knowing how to run a jail, or run an analysis, do this. Those things, they matter a lot. And so that changed my strategy. So I started looking for just ways to keep practicing what I am learning. Yeah. And when I did the master's and finished, and I didn't get a job immediately, or the job that I dreamt with that salary that I was dreaming about, then I was very frustrated. I looked around me, and I was in an environment surrounded by scientists, especially in the international research institutes, and their salaries were really impressive, right? And I also noted that there was a lot more foreigners than the locals who were earning these very impressive salaries. So, and all the locals who were earning impressive salaries, almost all had a PhD. I don't know, can't think of one who did it. Well, there were those who had masters, and they had found the job I was dreaming about, like really decent wage job. And so it was for me to decide. At that point, I remember thinking I could go on with a PhD so that I become a scientist and then earn these salaries that I see these guys earning, or I could stay here and look for a job and get a possibly decent salary. Like these guys they were making good money, and that's it, and not advance. But at that time, I applied for the jobs with a master's level, and I couldn't find them. I applied for PhD, so I opened up both opportunities. I applied for PhDs and I applied for jobs. Neither were coming, Sarah. So that's when I went for the internship, just to keep practicing. And while I was there, I wasn't sure whether I'll still get a PhD or I want to do it really. But I felt like, the worst is staying and not doing anything. So I might as well apply for everything. So I applied. I had not figured it out. And I had this crisis of wondering, like, time is going, life is moving. How long can I wait for this PhD? Am I posing other things in my life, just waiting for this PhD? And it will take me minimum 4 or 3 years to do it. And it was not coming, and time was passing. So that's why I went for the internship. And then I got a job. And while I was doing the job, Sarah, I started feeling like, you know what? I'm not going to do a PhD because I had so many rejection letters. Yes. And I had that good job now. You remember the job I was thinking about? I had that job, right? But finally, this is the world of research. So funding stops. Contracts end. So now again, I find myself in that position. My contract is ending. I don't have should I continue working? Should I go for a PhD? And if I do that, why am I getting a PhD? Sarah, that is a question that I battled with. I did keep applying, but while I was working, that when I had that job, I'll tell you, I wasn't active. I even got offers, literally, Sarah, and I turned them down. Yes. Because I was feeling like I can't embark on this journey. It will take me years to finish. And for what? I wasn't convinced about why I was doing it. I wasn't. And so I had stopped. And then when now the contract was ending, I think I went back to it out of the need to find something to do. Not necessarily because I wanted to do it. Yes. But here is the thing. Towards the end of the job, I had a discussion with my mentor, Eng. And he's the one who, he asked me, like, if you picture it, this is the way you can find another job equally, the same kind of pay, the same kind of thing you're doing. Do you feel like that's where you want? Is that enough for you in research? Are you doing enough? And while I was going around meeting all these people, working solutions with them, I could see gaps in my knowledge, huge gaps in my knowledge on crop science. Yes, because that wasn't my background. And this gap was hindering me from excelling. It was hindering me from proposing solutions that were like very good. Because sometimes I'd propose things and they don't make sense because I don't have basic information or basic knowledge on crop science or breeding or those things or just agricultural production. So I realized if I'm going to stay in this space and be good at it, because I need to be good at it to keep my job, I'll need to expand my knowledge. And that's when I was like, I need to expand my knowledge if I'm going to be good at it and get promoted. So that's why now I seriously started looking for a PhD again. This time it was different. It was not because, time is, just I need something to do. It was because I needed to add knowledge in this area so that I can be good at it and be able to provide actual solutions that are practical and feasible. Just that. And that was relaxing to me. But then it's also, I need a job. So that's why I applied for Sweden, because I wanted both PhD and job. And then COVID happened. And so even when I was in Sweden now, I got a PhD. And then now COVID happened, it took away the PhD. I went back to saying, you know what, I'll not do it. Because years are going, they are going by, and I had this thing is not coming, it's not happening, and for what? I have a job that's comfortable, I can just stay. But I kept feeling that I do, and just praying, basically, Sarah, I prayed a lot, and I just kept feeling that I need to pursue this journey. I need to be good at it. I need to be good at this in this field, and to increase my knowledge in it. So that's why I went back. Now I started writing to people again and telling them, you know what, I'm still looking. I still want to do this. And they were supportive, and by God's grace there was an opportunity and I got it. So, and that doesn't end there, Sarah. Even now when I'm doing it, I remember I got here and one of the crises I started having was, why did I do this? Why did I choose this? Why am I doing this? That continues. Because I don't know what the future holds. I know that I enjoy learning. I love learning about plants. I love learning how to improve them and the connection with agriculture and economic wellness. I love that. I love knowing that I'm learning how to do things in a sustainable way. I love that, Sarah. So that gives me the joy, the day-to-day joy of loving what I'm doing. But that question of, should I do a PhD? For me, it's a very zigzag. As you can tell from how that story, it's just zigzag. There's no straight line. I want to do this, I'm going to do this, and it's going to lead to this. Even now, I don't know where it's going to lead me. But here's the thing, Sarah. What I've learned through this zigzag is the importance of enjoying what you're doing at that moment. Because it happens a lot when you're in a field of academia or where you need PhDs, that you think in the future. You think, if I get a PhD, then I'll have that job, then I'll be, set, right? Mm-hmm. What happens between now and then? You have a life.
Yeah.
But you don't. I found that I would not, it's like I'm not living, because I'm just thinking of that PhD, I'm thinking of that postdoc, or I'm thinking of that not postdoc, I'm thinking of that scientist's position. But my life is going on.
Yeah.
Right? And I am not assured of that day when I get the science. If now we get very deep philosophical, but it's the truth. I'm not assured of that day. I'm not assured of that, of that position, and that position will bring happiness. So if you think back to when we talked about people in my class and taking different paths, what I look and I appreciate is that in as much as we didn't end up in biochemistry, research jobs, it's that people found something that makes them happy, that's giving them a life.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. And it's okay to have a goal, it's okay to have a plan, but I find that one of the things that this robs us is just the mere appreciation of where you are now and making the most of that and being happy about it. Because like right now, if I start I'll tell you, it's very scary. I have friends who are finishing their PhDs. I've seen how scary it is. And I know, do you do a postdoc? Do you go back home, apply for jobs? Or if you're at home, like jobs are not there, the faculty in our university is full. What are you going to do? So there's that fear. And if I sit here and start worrying about it now, I'll not enjoy the next 3 years of my life. And I will not have those years again. So it's in thinking of, it's in being reminded of, enjoy this, enjoy that job, enjoy that volunteer job. Enjoy that you're able to bring something to the table in that volunteer, in that internship, in that attachment. Enjoy that. And hope for the future and work towards it. But enjoy that. And it's not, I haven't figured it out, Sarah, but it's what I I'm trying to remind myself that every day. Enjoy that. So, when I go to the greenhouse, I try to remember to enjoy my greenhouse and sitting there with the plants. And that's a moment when I get to enjoy it, just being there with those plants and learning more about them and them teaching me things that I didn't know yesterday. Whether the scientist position will come and what will that will mean, we'll see when we get there. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy things. And that job, even if it's not the dream job, just enjoying that and enjoying the people and what life has given you. So just gratitude.
Wow, that's
Yeah, okay. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where I am right now. I'm just gone and
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about things that I've not enjoyed because I was worried about something. Or
Yeah.
in the moment that
I did the same.
Wow. In the moment that I came to realize, like, Sarah, yes, your things are not working right now. But imagine all these things that you're learning, all the environment that you have. I even started going swimming because I'm like, I have a free swimming pool here. Can I just enjoy that?
Just enjoy that. Like, just enjoy that. Those are like right now we have very, the weather is very gloomy. But I've been looking out and I'm like, oh, now I'm learning things about winter that I didn't know, about the trees and how they behave during the winter. I didn't know. And the animals outside. It's not that I see them every day, Sarah. I don't want to tell you, like, I'm not painting a picture that I have figured it. No. But this is what I want to keep my mind, I want to keep in my mind and be reminded all the time. And just that gratitude and thanking God for what He's doing at the moment.
Because I can imagine if we keep worrying, we'll always be worried. Because even after
there will be.
Position, there are things like being a scientist, looking for
yes.
Which I want to find.
Yeah. I have scientist friends who are worried about that almost all the time, or they have 2 years going well and then boom, now that funding is ending. Now the worry starts. So you have to enjoy those 2 years until that moment comes, because otherwise life will
always be stressed.
Go. Life will just pass by.
There's something you had mentioned before about funding, comparing funding in Kenya and where you are right now.
So, one of the, for me, like, funding is critical, like for science, of course. And at home, what my experience was that it's very unstable. And they're very, and it's not there. There's not much opportunities for funding. Here, on the contrast, there is funding. But one of the main reasons I actually chose to come to this program is they have how do I call it? They have a program, a breeding program, which they work together with the farming community and the seed companies and all of that. that in a way that they provide certain resources, whether it be it the products of the breeding program or just information on what varieties are susceptible, which ones are not. Things like that by running trials that provide that information, that pay back. And we have in the society companies and people who are invested in this program because of what the program does for the society and for these people. And so I find that as a very good balance, because that means that gives more sustainable funding for the program. It is it can run by itself once you establish that. Exactly. Once you establish that with people who see the benefit or are the beneficiary of what you're putting out, and them being able to understand that for them to keep getting these outputs, they need to also put back or invest into these programs. And once you have that circle complete, then it's like it just runs. You
don't have to worry about funding from outside.
This foreign funding. And what I find with our research back home, unfortunately, is that there's a lot. The other thing that's unique here is the government's. The government does invest in the people and in research, right? In a big way, and research feeds back to the government in a big way here, more than home. Yeah, more than home. That's a big difference. That initiative, that support means a lot from the government, and it's a game changer, and it contributes to the changes you end up seeing in the society growing and improving. Like Sarah, in the Midwest, the people are really invested in production here. People are invested in it. Kenya is an amazing country. We are, and we have so much potential with agriculture. But there are things that you can't, they are not debatable. The government has to ramp up the support. And also understand that support is that research outputs. You have to do it from the grassroots. You have to do it from those undergrads projects, those technical universities that are producing prototypes that are just getting stuck there, that could be used to revolutionize how we do farming. If that support doesn't come to those places, then we have solutions, but they are in the shelves. They are just sitting there. And they don't need much, really. They just need a small boost and a good plan and mentorship and good training. And then people are able to do this and scale it. And other people can come in, private companies can come in and invest. And then the science, now you have the will. Now the research is now putting out and it's feeding, and then whoever is benefiting is investing back into the science. Then we have a sustainable system.
So apart from the government,
where needed, the government does. The government comes in to make sure that this will is going, because it's the government that can also put a push on the private investors, right, or influence private investors and keep the infrastructure of the universities running as they should. So once we have that kind of will, then we don't really rely on this external funding. That's not our bread. That's not where the bread comes from. But when that funding is what we rely on to pay our salaries, like for literally our bread, if that goes out, we are out. Yeah. So what I want to learn, through my PhD, is how do these systems here work? Why is it that they succeed? What are the incentives for every person in that circle? What is making them do what they are supposed to do? And how can we get this back home? How can we do this back home? Have self-sufficient, systems that just drives themselves. They have the funding enough to keep driving. And every time we are improving in technology, we are improving. That's my dream, like in agriculture. We have really brilliant minds in the universities. Tunatoka, we don't have the jobs. Or we have ideas, we put them in the shelf. You pick up what is available because you need to eat and you need to pay rent. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest difference I've seen here. It's not that people do not sit and think that they do not rely on external support as much as we do, because the systems work. They have built systems that work. They are not perfect, but they work.
So what you're trying to say is we need to see where we need to get the support from the tax money that we pay, and we also need to have a good model where the private businesses here in Kenya are able to chip into research so that their company also can grow, and so that the people who they are feeding these products to, for example, can also benefit from that. So there's that need for, companies and individuals to understand why they really need to be support research and why it is important for them, for all of us.
Yes. They need to understand that. And the buck stops with the government. It does. That's what I think. Not necessarily that without, but they have the biggest role to play in this.
Yeah.
They have the biggest role to play in this, to get this to work, to organize, to get the right people in the right places, to get this going.
And I'd like that to mention that.
Yeah,
I like that you mentioned that.
Those are the things. Sorry?
I like that you mentioned the part where there's no need to create a cycle or a wheel where you're not really hoping that an external government comes to fund research done in your own country. You're able to now work with companies, and its own government finds a model to make these people still have a job, and now they are able to work with different people to improve their own business. And with doing this, you get more jobs for everyone and better food security for everyone. Like, it's just a small thing just makes everything just go high and just balloons.
Kabisa, it does. I mean, if you think about it, if you take a county government and they support the research that is happening in the local, say, technical institute or the universities or the colleges that are there, and they also connect these universities and the outputs of these universities with the local farmer organizations or the circles. We can work out a solutions where farmers are the ones who tell us these are the problems we have. This is what we are facing. And what is our job as scientists? That's our job. We get those problems, we figure out a solutions for that. Whether it's engineering, whatever, depending on the problems that they raise.
Yeah.
And then the funding, the government can initiate the funding for that while we wait for the wheel to start running. The government needs to start the wheel running. And then now, when it's running, when they are, the product starts coming out, and because the people are paying taxes.
Yes.
Right? So it is essentially the money of the people that's doing this.
Yeah.
So then once the wheel starts running and these farmers start seeing benefits from this, then they can even now chip more into this research, and it expands. And sometimes it's just a farming equipment that works for us, that in the scale of farming that we are doing. And we know how innovative Kenyans are. Like, we innovate, we are very innovative. This is a resource that we need to tap into and not rely on another government having surplus in their money, or not. Sometimes it's not even surplus, just the goodwill of another government. While we have our own and we have resources, it can be done, and it's not insane amount of money that needs to do this.
Some of these solutions a lot of the problems that the farmers are facing, some of them, when you listen to them, there are things that need very, they are fundamental problems. They're not complex. They don't need like insane solutions. And the most important thing is to get started with something that works now, and then we can build these complex, big, solutions for the future. But we have to start somewhere, and starting small is fine. But we need to start somewhere and have a system that just works. So those are the things that frustrate me when I see that they are not working, to be honest, Sarah.
I love that you've spoken about funding, because that's something that really factors in how the job availability in our society, especially here. Mm-hmm. And also, as much as you've compared that to the US, I mean, imagine even them, they're also not as satisfied with how things are run, but they're at least higher than us in terms of
there are problems that they don't have to worry about.
Yeah. And we start talking about those other problems. It's just a whole
yes.
Anyway, so Milcah, thanks for coming in and giving us your thoughts and your experiences. Those are very dear things that are for you. You can choose not to share, but I imagine you sharing something very generous, even sharing your thoughts and your experiences, something very generous, and I value that. And I think the only reason why I love this space is for someone to tell this. The more you connect, as you mentioned before, the more you connect, the better chances you have in advancing your career in a certain field. And for me, I've thought, like, especially in the science spectrum, there isn't so much knowledge of what you can do. Because I see in the entertainment scene, you can see someone telling their stories on how they grew from whatever to whatever, but you can't see a scientist really telling the story of what it really took for them to get where they are, even if they haven't gotten there really. But that explaining that journey to me, it's very important. And someone listening to you would, have at least a template of what is out there, just to have an idea and know how to navigate it easier. And it's also, I don't know how you feel about being on this podcast. Maybe I feel like it's also good for someone who's talking. How do you feel this has helped you? How do you feel about this conversation that has taken about 1 hour, 30 minutes or more?
Oh, wow. I think the main thing is, first, I appreciate these are things that I have loved to have conversations with people about, just sharing our journey. Because there's always something you can take from someone else's journey. Just having that opportunity to do that and talk about science, like, having that forum where you can talk about research and our challenges in research in this way, that is really important, and I'm grateful that you gave me that opportunity to talk about it. Just talking about this has also helped me to reflect a lot about my journey. Because I had to think through, like, the whole process. How did I move from this, and what did this mean for me? And just that reflection, it's also important for me, because it's what I need to keep doing to help me with the next phase or the current phase that I'm in right now. And I can, when I was listening to myself, I could see just how importance of most things is like support, faith, networking, good mentorship, things like that have been very, very important. I could just see them standing out in my journey, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the people who've been involved, and I thank God for what He has done. And thank you, Sarah. This is an amazing opportunity, and please keep doing it. I will be listening. I want to hear stories from other people, and just their journey and how they made it to where they are, and what tips that they are using
or where they have kept from their journey that they are using for the next phase in their life.
It's nice to hear you say that.
Thank you. It matters, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Is there anything that you wanted to add?
Not much. I'd just say that if you love research, it can be frustrating. If you love it, just keep pushing. If you are a person of faith, I'll tell you, faith really does wonders. And network. Talk to people. Don't be shy to send that email. Just send it. Write to as many people as possible. And just keep your mind open. Sometimes it's not that the job needs to have that title and that there's an office with that title on it. Sometimes it's things just work out and you find your way into there. But it may mean that you have to start from a different point than you envisioned.
Do you want to start your own podcast? Start with some simple gear that you already have and a quiet space. Simple gear includes a microphone, editing software, and host of your podcast. Simple microphones include the ones on your phones and computers, or a simple recorder, which you can upgrade later. For the editing software, I use Audacity, which is free and simple to use. Buzzsprout, which over 1,000 other fellow podcasters like me use, is one of the podcast hosting providers you can use. Buzzsprout has helped me link my show on every major podcast platform. With the endless number and regularly updated tutorials and good customer service support Buzzsprout offers, my podcasting journey has been made easy. Following the link in the show notes, let Buzzsprout know we sent you, gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and helps support our show.